President Biden will give his first State of the Union address tonight against the backdrop of Russia's invasion and high inflation. The speech comes as a new CBS News poll finds his overall approval rating at just 44%. Ed Keefe is joining us now from the White House with more on this. Ed, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good to see you again. That same poll shows that there's a big appetite among Americans who plan to tune in for more information on Ukraine, the president's foreign policy, and how a war in Europe could affect people here at home. As Russian attacks intensify in Ukraine, new CBS News polling shows a majority of Americans supporting U.S. actions in response to Russia. But they're also concerned about a wider war. President Biden is downplaying Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to put his nuclear forces on alert.
Mr. President, should Americans be worried about nuclear war?
No. And the isolation of Russia continues. Days after the U.S. and dozens of other countries imposed historic sanctions, Standard & Poor's downgraded Russia's credit rating to junk status, and Russian airlines are grounded by airspace restrictions across Europe. But Ukrainian officials visiting Washington are pushing for more.
They will probably erase Kyiv, Kharkiv, and the other cities from the map.
They're pleading with the U.S. to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
We need to protect the sky because they are using the sky to shoot us.
But the White House says that's unlikely.
A no-fly zone would require implementation. It would require deploying U.S. military to enforce, which would be a direct conflict, potentially a direct conflict, and potentially a war with Russia, which is something we are not planning to be a part of.
On Capitol Hill, lawmakers are now focused on sending more weapons and humanitarian aid to Ukraine.
Vladimir Putin will lose this battle. He will lose this war. He will be a pariah amongst not only NATO and America, but amongst all civilized nations around the world.
The economic impacts on energy and food prices as a result of this conflict are not just going to go away in 2, 3, or 4 weeks. This is going to be a multi-year challenge.
And the crisis is set to dominate the president's first formal State of the Union address tonight. And that's what most Americans want to hear. But other top concerns include the economy, inflation, and the pandemic. So on those issues of the economy and inflation more specifically, let's take a look at a few other numbers from this new poll. 62% of Americans disapprove of the president's handling of the economy overall. Look at that. When it comes to inflation, though, it's even bleaker. 70% disapprove of his response to the recent spike in prices. So to ease the concern about the nation's economy, despite reams of data showing that the GDP is up, unemployment is down, and more people have more money in their bank accounts, the president's going to call on Congress to pass legislation to make it easier for people to buy goods and services and see their costs go down. Things like a child tax credit, a new one, expanding access to child care and health care, and raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Vladimir.
So, Ed, you've got some new details on the president's speech tonight. What can you tell us? What are you hearing?
Yeah, they're gonna be dripping some of these details out over the course of the day. And the one thing they tell us now this morning is the president's going to unveil what he calls a unity agenda. Talk about a campaign year pledge. The idea is to get Democrats and Republicans to pass legislation on things that historically enjoy broad bipartisan support. In this case, it's a focus on mental health, especially after 3 years of a pandemic. One thing he wants Congress to do is focus in on the technology sector, the technology industry, specifically social media sites and websites targeting children, amid research that shows that the more they're seeing and using social media, the more it's having an adverse effect on their mental health. So he wants them to, among other things, ban targeted advertising to children, demand the technology companies stop collecting personal data on children. There are legislative ideas already out there proposed by Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate. So in essence, he's seeing this as an easy win for everybody. Why not get it done ahead of the elections this November? There'll be more on mental health and other issues in this unity agenda tonight.
It seems like it should be an easy win, but we haven't seen very many
But this
of those.
is Washington.
Yeah,
this
right.
is Washington. Yeah, exactly. Ed, for us at the White House, as always, my friend, thank you so much.
Take care.